5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Of course, this is our show that covers everything that is happening in pop culture, and we throw in a little bit of fun with it. With this episode this week, we've got a few fun things to talk about. Of course, the Oscars have happened. We're going to be talking about the Oscars and all the winners and the events that are going to be happening with that. Little buy it, stream it, or unsee it. Of course, our review section, we're going to be talking about Dune 2 as well as a few other movies. And of course, the most important thing, we are continuing our Culture Clash guide to time travel as we write another chapter, which is our time travel spotlight of the 2012 movie directed by Rian Johnson, Looper. But I cannot do time travel alone. Of course, I am your host, Kyle, but I need a crew. I've got to have a crew, and I'm really not ready to bring myself from the future back because I'm really not ready to check myself out. But I did find a couple other people to join me on these time travel Culture Clash adventures. And first and foremost, she is the queen of movie foo. She knows all the things about all things movie. And since we are talking about the Oscars and she has been joining us on our time travel, I think it's appropriate that she comes back. You hear her on Time Warp. You've heard her on Culture Clash. She's the queen of movie foo herself, Miss Lacee Adderhold. How are you, Miss Lacee? Can't hear you. You're muted.
Well, I'll have to start over. Hello, yay!
Time travel does that. Sometimes there's some delay. It's okay.
I'm doing
How
good.
are you doing, Miss
I'm
Lacee?
doing real good. I've had a lot of movies this week, so I've got a lot of fun things to talk about, and I think we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. We are talking about Dune 2 today too, so things might get a little spicy. And I know a guy who I think he likes spicy, but it might upset his stomach a little bit every once in a while too. But I know he likes popcorn. It's the Raider Nerd, my brother from another mother, the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. That's a lot of titles. Mr. Kevin, right?
Well, hello. I'm sorry, but hold on. Kevin can't be here right now. He sent me to introduce him. I'm Dune the Popcorn Bucket. How are you all doing today? You know this show's really about me, right?
It kind of sounds a little more like Yoda, but Mr. Popcorn Bucket.
Yes.
You do realize that if we don't wash the extra butter out of you, it could get the spice will go bad.
Hey, I don't talk about your cleaning process, so let's just stay away from that. But anyway, I'm excited to talk about some Dune 2 today. Is that what the topic is? Huh?
Are we sure that's not the Lethal Mullet? He's extra spicy.
Well, check out how sexy I am. Look at that. Oh, what? Did I tell you? Stop it. Sorry about that, guys.
Kevin, what have
Dean, the
you?
popcorn bucket, he has a mind of his own, so sorry.
What have I told you about playing with your trash compactor?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
I don't know if I can come back from that.
Yeah, that's Dean, the Dune popcorn bucket. So he was excited to get some screen time. So yeah.
Are we supposed to kill it before it gets a name and adapts to human society?
Yeah, I know, right?
Of course,
we got some people in the chat here. We got lurkers here. I'm here but driving. Thank you for dropping in. And Kenny dropped in there. What's up, guys? And we got a Facebook user. There ain't no coming back. It's T-Bird of the New Crow. There you go.
Okay. With that comment, I want to take 1 second, Kevin. I know we're going to dive into this particular subject deeper in a future Culture Clash and possibly at its upcoming Couch Potato Theater. But everybody knows.
Oh, sorry about that, Kyle.
Apparently, your sandworm is pushing buttons. I'm going to have.
I know, right?
with him. Everybody knows how important the Crow movie is to both of us.
Yes.
Lacee, I got to ask you, what are your feelings? Where's the Crow rank for you? Is it even in your wheelhouse of movies?
Yeah, I've seen The Crow. I've seen all of them. It was of its time. I didn't follow up with many of the sequels really. I think it's something that, because of the surrounding issues, that I think it's good that they're going a little bit of a different direction with this, because I feel like there's some, just the events of the first film being as sad as they were. I think that just trying to go ahead and start in a different direction is a good way for them to start it. I haven't seen a lot of Bill Skarsgård in things because he does a lot of horror movies and I don't do horror. So this is going to be one that I finally get to watch him do a thing and be like, hey, look, there you are doing your thing. That's awesome. So it's going to be good.
I'm still putting. Yeah, okay, cutting off me, Kevin Gutsy. Yeah.
Sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah, well, we'll see how well you sound in the audio version of this podcast.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I'm here.
I'm still putting together my thoughts because honestly, because of my work schedule, I haven't really gotten to sit down and really watch the trailer properly on a big screen because I want to do that. But Kevin, I think you put out a very well thought out social media post about it, and I just wanted you to give you a quick chance, at least give your thoughts with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see some similarities with fans with anything new Crow when it comes to movies that I also see with anything new movies for Highlander, because a lot of the sequels for Highlander and a lot of the stuff that came out after the original Crow didn't live up to fans' expectations, and I completely get it because I'm with you there. There's a couple exceptions, of course, for me with The Crow. I did like the third film, actually. I thought it had an interesting little corruption police, film noir feel to it. And coming back from being executed to do things right, I thought was cool. And I thought the Crow TV series, the Crow Salvation series, was a really good interpretation of the Crow. And interpretation is the key word here, people. I'm not a gatekeeper when it comes to, there should never be a sequel. There should never be a remake. There should never be a reboot. Yes, my expectations are low when stuff like this is normally announced because a lot of it falls short. And it's, obviously, making movies is a business. I don't know if people know that, but people make movies, they want to make money. So they go back to the well of stuff that seemed to do well or might be doing well with the fandom. And The Crow is one of those they've been trying to do. And after I saw this new trailer, I just want to say that I actually am curious about it now because there's some stylistic choices about it. And I'm becoming a huge fan of Bill, especially after his, he was great in, It. But seeing him as a villain in the last John Wick film, probably the best dressed villain in cinematic history. I'm exaggerating, but you get my point. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with interpretation. And I know people are shocked because he doesn't look like the long hair Crow that we're used to, and the long trench coat and all that kind of stuff. And, he looks kind of more like a Joker villain type of thing, or a version of the Joker, which has been joked about. But I liked what I saw from the trailer, and I am open to any new interpretation of the Crow because there's a lot of options to do out there. And it's kind of like watching a Hallmark film. You know how it's going to end, but you kind of want to see how it gets there. And that's what I'm not comparing a Hallmark movie to the Crow movie, but it's that I like to see different interpretations of stories that have been done. And I will say the same for Highlander. I'm open to any new Highlander interpretation, but I'm curious though, just do something kind of cool and different with it, which is why I like the third Crow film. I just like the direction they went compared to City of Angels and the fourth one with Edward Furlong. But I'm a huge Crow fan. The first film will always be my favorite. Nothing's going to challenge that. We'll go more into that later when we cover The Crow later this year, because it's going to be getting a 4K release from the original 1994 movie. So I'm open to seeing this new film. I'm curious, and I'm not saying excited, but I'm going to see it.
Like I said, I'm going to by the time we have our next episode of Culture Clash, I'm going to have my thoughts on it. Lacey, you want to interject something real quick?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I have learned just I kind of like forced myself to stop saying like low expectations, because I
Yeah.
used to say it all the time. What I have started saying is that I kind of just go into it with a clean slate, like just let them do what they're gonna do. Just because I'll say that I'm going into it with low expectations, and people are like they automatically think that I feel it's gonna be crappy, and I don't think that at all. And so I've had to like kind of brand my brain to say, okay, clean slate is where I come into it, just because I think that I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been a lot of sequels and reboots that have not done well, but you can do, I mean, it's possible they'll pull off a Jumanji. They honored Robin Williams perfectly, and they've managed to create a new, full new, series with that. There are a lot of ways to get around that and to pay homage to the original. So I think that it could be a fun thing.
Yeah,
Good point.
it's a little different with The Crow because we lost Brandon Lee, and I get it. And there's a lot of emotions behind it, and there's this thing where no one should ever touch it ever again because they did it right the first time, and you're doing injustice to our late Brandon Lee, the actor. And as much as I loved him, and keep in mind, guys, I was a fan of Brandon Lee before he did The Crow. I remember when he was in a Kung Fu episode. I remember Laser Mission, one of my favorites, Rapid Fire, and then I was a fan of the Crow comics before those two people came together to do the film, which made me really emotionally invested in it. So don't go down that road that I'm not a real Crow fan, because I'll fight you on that. But I will say that I don't think the Crow Brandon Lee movie should be the only interpretation of future Crow movies.
Well, we'll get into more of that, and you'll get my thoughts here soon. But you put out a really good statement, Kevin. I just wanted to hit that. But we are here to talk about some time travel, which, of course, as we've been starting for the year, it is the year of time travel here on the Culture Clash, and we are hitting different time travel movies. This week, it is the 2012 movie Looper. I'm learning to talk again, apparently. But we always have a few other things to talk about when it comes to the Fandom Podcast Network, because we are busy guys around here, because not only do we have Culture Clash, which is our flagship show, we have a lot of other great things coming on the network currently and coming soon. And let's hit a few of those things real quick, starting with our most recent release, Couch Potato Theater, because, Kevin, we're expanding the year of time travel to Couch Potato Theater for some movies this year. And we had such a wonderful response to doing Jean-Claude Van Damme in Hard Target. It makes perfect sense. Time Cop, Couch Potato Theater. You and Lacey were joined by the Lethal Mullet himself, the master of talking anything action films. You had a wonderful podcast talking Time Cop.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, Lacey. It was great to have you on, and it was interesting to throw in the time movie questions, that the time travel spotlights that we have for these episodes for Culture Clash in with this one, and we came up with some good discussions, and it was a lot of fun. It was good to have you on.
It was really fun. I had a blast, and it was the first time I had met Adam.
Yeah, that's right.
Mullet. So that was really cool, and he's got a lot of stuff coming up that I'm really interested in hearing about. So I'm gonna probably
you officially will be getting a mullet soon.
Oh,
warning you now.
I'm working on it.
But we do have some other great things happening, Kevin, including we had a little crossover event here at the Fandom Podcast Network.
Yeah, we decided to do a Rockstar 2001 starring Mark Wahlberg and Jennifer Aniston. We did the Couch Potato Theater, and we had my co-host of the Hair Metal podcast, Mr. Mike Simmer, on for that. And then he and I recorded the crossover episode of the Hair Metal episode of the soundtrack. Because if you watch that movie, you will notice there are some songs that are unique to that film that were re-recorded or recorded. Some of these songs existed, but basically they made a hair metal album out of this movie. That was great. And we talked about the musicians behind the recording, the history of it. And so make sure you check out the Hair Metal podcast, the Rockstar soundtrack. That's episode 23. And then, of course, check out Couch Potato Theater, where we talk about everything else on Rockstar.
And of course, here's one of the things I love about the Rockstar soundtrack is you've got all these hair metal songs on there, and then just completely out of randomly, you have Colorful by the Verve Pipe.
Well, yeah, see, we mentioned all the songs on the soundtrack that were there and some of the songs that were not on the soundtrack, but we spent the time discussing the actual Steel Dragon songs that were in there and about that. So that's what we did. We stuck to the hair metal.
And of course, the Lethal Mullet is back. He had Adam O'Brien, the Lethal Mullet, had a few things happen in Australia weather-wise, kind of caused some delays, but he is back, and he's back with a little bit of Patrick Swayze love with Black Dog, one of the more insane action movies. I mean, we got Patrick Swayze. I believe isn't the Meatloaf in this, Kevin?
Yeah, he plays the villain in it, and Randy Travis is in it. So you got these two good singers that were acting in this, and it was a nice little like truck action scenes. And what was really funny was I was familiar with a lot of the filming locations because it was in and around like North Carolina and also Atlanta. And there's an opening scene where he goes to get his truck, and it's that same garage that was used at the end of Fast 5, where Trey's character goes to like open up an Atlanta shop. It was the same one because I used to live around there. So, Lacee, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was gonna say that excuse me. I was gonna say that's one of the first films to ever film in Atlanta, like other than Burt Reynolds, of course.
Right.
Because it was one of the first actively sought out movies, like when George actually got a film commission and started working on actually trying to bring things to Atlanta. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it was cool.
Speaking of Patrick Swayze, we got something very special coming. It'll be out soon, but we're waiting on something to do this. But we are doing Couch Potato Theater Roadhouse. But we're going to double feature Roadhouse because we're not going to talk about one Roadhouse. We're going to spend a little time talking about two Roadhouses because the Roadhouse remake coming to Amazon here in just a few days from this recording with Jake Gyllenhaal. We'll see. I'm going in open-minded, but Roadhouse is an all-time classic guy movie, Kevin.
Yes, and our friend Alex Autry brought up something in discussion I thought was interesting. What people to think about is Roadhouse, as he says, the 80th of 80s movies ever. That's a discussion for another time. I just want to bring that up. But yes, we'll be talking about, of course, the movie, and I also got a soundtrack here that we're going to be touching on as well.
Great.
And also, I'm going to just tease, we're going to have brand new Couch Potato Theater discussion points, new categories. We're revamping Couch Potato Theater, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm going to try to see if I can get Terry Funk and Bigfoot on the podcast, And of course, we have Lacee here, which means we also got to hype a little Time Warp coming out next week. As of this recording, it is Saturday, the 16th of March. Next week, our third part of Time Warp 1984, the movies of March, will be dropping. And March was a busy month in 1984, Mr. Reitzel.
Yeah, March was slamming, and we got some other pop culture, like good TV stuff to talk about, some music. But yeah, there were some good movies. We got Spinal Tap, Splash, Romancing the Stone, Repo Man, Ice Pirates, and Police Academy, just to name a few. March was slamming of 84.
Real quick too, I just want to throw out a couple other things. If you're interested in the Bad Batch, all our friends over at What a Piece of Junk are covering that in full force right now. And also too, for you Doctor Who fans, Type 40, the Doctor Who podcast, will be making its return to the Fandom Podcast Network with episodes, as we have just found out recently, May 11th, the premiere of the new season of Doctor Who with Ncuti Nagawa and the return of Russell T Davies as showrunner will be dropping. We are excited, cannot wait, but we've got a lot of other things to talk about here on the Fandom Podcast Network and here on Culture Clash. And it's time, we got Time Travel Spotlight. But before we even get into that, ladies and gentlemen, there's some other things to talk about. So
Let's use.
the Oscars. Now, if you've been a long time listener to Culture Clash, you know Kevin and I used to have the Clashies, which were our Oscar show where we kind of picked the Oscars and lit up against each other. We haven't done it the last few years because, let's be honest, between COVID and a few other things and the movies just and the Oscar show itself not being that great, we've kind of backed off on it. But Kevin, did the Oscars return to form this year? Because a lot of people are talking about it.
I'm going to say not yet, but it was definitely a good step in the right direction. There was some memorable moments that made it feel like Oscars. There was some funny moments. There was some, I'm not going to say it's back because it needs to be consistently good for several years. And I'm fine with Jimmy Kimmel keeping doing it for a while. He can be the Billy Crystal. I just miss that he doesn't sing, but whatever.
Now, Lacey, did you watch the Oscars this year?
I did, and for the first time in by a decade, I watched them live.
Okay, so I got to comment about that real quick. I had them streaming live, but I had to take a call with my lovely wife. We were chatting. I still had it playing, and so I didn't see every single thing, but I did go back and watch the highlights on YouTube and such. But Kyle, you and I were chatting or doing something, and we didn't realize that the Oscars had already started. We're like, oh, are you going to watch the Oscars tonight? Yes. And it was already like an hour in, I think.
About 45 minutes in, I think.
Yeah, for the first time, they actually moved it forward an hour this year, specifically because
I like. Yeah. I just need to get used to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was great for us people on the East Coast. It actually ended before midnight.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That was nice. But there were some very fun moments at this year's Oscars, something I think that's been lacking for a few years. So
Penny said, by the way, it was a better Oscars, one of the better ones in a long, long time. I would agree with that, actually. Yes.
So let's start with some of the best moments. And come on, guys. This one's had people talking. Michael Keaton still showing he is the one true Batman.
Michael Keaton as Adam West.
Yeah, exactly.
He's Michael Keaton's 89 Batman. Come on.
No, he specifically said that he chose that cravat and shirt to mirror the Adam West version of.
Okay, that makes sense. But his face is all like 89 right. Batman. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and if we're not careful, he is going to throw us out of a window. So
yeah, or use love against me.
Yeah. For sure, that's you, Kevin. So, but another great moment is the wonderful John Cena, and one of the funniest moments I think in the Oscars in a good while. Paying homage to the 50th anniversary, a streaker ran onto the stage at the Oscars. John Cena and Jimmy Kimmel had this bit, and all the more power to John Cena for being able to pull this off, and he did so wonderfully, guys.
This is hilarious. He is a comedy gem. You forget how funny he is, and he's showcased in his films and Peacemaker, and a question I will have for Lacey coming up later on about another film he's in. So yeah, this is great.
And I have a feeling it was a treat for a lot of people out there that he did this.
And I don't know if you have a chance to go on YouTube or whatever to go to the Jimmy Kimmel show afterwards. He actually revisited that particular moment where he brought out the original envelope that they were supposed that the censors were the S&P were trying to make sure that everything was covered, and the envelope was like this. He's like, I mean, congratulations, John, but really? So we found a middle ground, but it was really kind of a fun. He did another little kind of post Oscars wrap up for his first show, which was really funny. The monologue was really great.
Yeah,
and there was a little moment after this that I have to bring up because when John Cena goes off stage, who's waiting to come out for the next segment? The Rock. And if you're a professional wrestling fan, you know the history of John Cena and The Rock, which made it even more hilarious. And you could see Dwayne Johnson laughing his butt off.
I don't know what the history is, Kyle. Please
John
explain for us that are not, known of the WW stuff.
Several years ago, almost 10 years ago now, John Cena and The Rock headlined 2 straight WrestleManias against each other.
Each other.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually in real life got pretty personal between them. And hence hashed it out. But yeah, it just made for it. I was like, yeah, the Oscars knew what they were doing when they set that one up. But the man who might have stole the show, Ryan Gosling, I'm Just Ken, and his wonderful performance, opening up, singing break. the
Kyle,
name
did
of
you
my
just
thing.
have a Ryan Gosling is hot moment? You just kind of lost your breath. You know,
No,
did
I
you
was
have to-
kind of I have Margot Robbie on my screen. I'm like,
Yeah,
that,
sure.
that will
Okay,
do
all
it
right.
every time.
Fine, I'll say it. Ryan Gosling was hot.
Yeah. I mean, from Margot Robbie to having all the Kens that were in the film, most of the Kens that were in the film being part of the show, to his body surfing, to Kevin appeasing all you hair metal guys out there, sharing the stage with Slash, and not just Slash, but Wolfgang Van Halen as
Baby
well.
Wolfie.
Yeah, Wolfgang Van Halen. Someone told me I guess they played on the album. I can't confirm that,
Yeah.
but it was nice to see Wolfgang Van Halen up there performing with Slash back to back. Slash, of course, got most of the spotlight, but it was good to see him up there.
This was a lot of
That,
fun.
that was one. I'm just gonna say real quick, Kyle. Go back to that. This was one of the best musical performances I can remember in history of the Oscars. You know, being able like the way he was standing behind, Margot, and she's kind of cracking up, and and then he's like holding the hand of the cameraman as he's going out. I mean, it was just really well done, well produced, well choreographed. A lot of fun. Well done.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Scott Evans managed to like turn around and do a little twist and like give him a kiss on the cheek before he got back in line, which was adorable.
The other thing that was funny too was when Emily Blunt and Ryan were presenting together, and they're having like a little like my movie did better than yours, the whole Barbenheimer thing. Because I saw both of those movies on opening day, and it was just so funny how that little rivalry went back and forth. It was great.
What do you mean paint on your abs to get an Oscar, Kevin?
Yeah. Or riding Oppenheimer was riding Barbie's coattails. That was kind of funny.
Right. Also, don't forget Simu Liu, who was like the number 2 Ken.
Yep.
He actually did this performance with he was coming off of a surgery for a torn Achilles.
Oh wow.
Okay. Yeah, he's post-op on a torn Achilles takes like six or 7 months, and he was 3.5 months in, and he was like, okay, this is history. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
There you go. Yeah, it was good to see him.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the Oscars means we also had some Oscar winners. And of course, like many predicted, the night did belong to Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer won Movie of the Year. Well deserved. Oppenheimer, in my opinion, was a true piece of cinema. It was a movie. It was classic. And Christopher Nolan, long deserving, gets it. Big night for Oppenheimer altogether. Not only for that, but also because Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr., who I thought he had won one before, but he won his first Oscar. And
yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
I just want to say one of the best speeches of the night was his acceptance speech, where he was thanking his wife and talking about how his wife basically was like a bad pet. It was like a feral pet rescue, and how she brought him up and everything like that. And
I like the fact that he was thanking with his agent or something, helping him get out of jail,
bailing him out of the Hooskow.
Yeah, I thought that was great. But it was a surreal. I was happy for Cillian Murphy for 2 reasons. First of all, I just watched him live at a Santa Barbara Film Festival showing. It was a free showing of Oppenheimer on the big screen, and he came out afterwards live on stage to answer some questions from an interviewer. So, and I'm looking at him going, and he was nominated for an Oscar, and they brought that up during the interview, saying you're nominated. He says, yeah, it's honor this and blah, blah, blah. And then I kept thinking about an interview that I saw with Emily Blunt. I think it was after the Oscars, about how she jokingly said he's like one of the worst people at being a celebrity ever. Because he's not because he's like mean or anything, but he's just like so like, he doesn't like project a lot. He's so kind of cool, and
he doesn't like realize that everyone knows who he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. But back to Robert Downey. To me, this was the best performance in that whole movie. I was so happy for him. I love now that he's going to be known as not Oscar nominated for Chaplin, but now Oscar winner for Oppenheimer. And I'm really, really happy for him.
I'm pretty sure this is his 3rd nomination. I think there was one for, was it the Halle Berry horror movie or something?
No, I thought it was a judge.
Oh, it might have been the judge. Yeah. Okay.
But
Right on.
no, I just want to say I'm extremely happy for Cillian Murphy too. I'm a big fan of his. I've always thought he's kind of been one of our more underrated great actors out there, and the guy is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Actress categories. Yeah, this one was actually probably, I think, maybe the biggest surprise of the Oscars was Emma Stone winning for Best Actress for Poor Things. What a wonderful acceptance speech, the true emotion of it, and of course, blaming Ryan Gosling for breaking her dress. So, and then, of course, too, we had Divine Joy Randolph winning for The Holdovers as well.
Which was phenomenal. If you haven't seen The Holdovers, watch it.
I love Paul Giamatti. I've been wanting to see that. I think it's playing on Paramount Plus or something, or is it Peacock? I can't remember. It's streaming somewhere that I have, so I want to see it.
And that kid, he's going to go places. Like that kid he's really good. Like he's a really good actor. And I'm terrible that I can't remember his name right now.
That's quite all right. Was actually a pretty good night for Poor Things at the Oscars too. It won a lot of makeup and costume categories as well. And I've always kind of crushed on Emma Stone, and just to see her up there with that true emotion, it was great.
Although if you saw the look on her face
mm-hmm.
when it happened, she truly did not expect to win. Like the look on her face went from like, oh yeah, to like she was absolutely like she thought like everyone else that Lily Gladstone was going to be. Is it Lily Gladstone?
Yeah, everybody had Lily Gladstone as the favorite to win.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen. Well, honestly, at the time, I hadn't seen either one.
So you know how there's always one big surprise in the Oscars, and it's one of the acting things. This was it.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Christopher Nolan winning for Best Director. Kevin, I'm kind of at the point, we're going to talk about another director here shortly when we talk about Dune 2. I think we are looking at two of the greatest filmmakers of our generation right now.
Nolan definitely has a strong resume of films and style as well, and he commands the respect. He can get anyone that he wants into his films, and if you look at Oppenheimer, it's a who's who of who's who, and who was what and who was when, and oh, you brought that guy back, or you brought that girl back. It's amazing. And congratulations to him. I also want to give a quick shout out to Göransson, the guy that won the music Oscar for this film, because people know him as being the Mandalorian guy who wrote the music for The Mandalorian. I can't remember his full name right now, but I was very happy that he won for music soundtrack.
I remember there's this Matt Damon was talking before Oppenheimer came out, saying he was ready to take a break from film. He promised his wife he'd spend more time with family.
Yep.
There was one condition: if Christopher Nolan called.
I gotta tell you though, I think one of the main reasons I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet is because I'm exhausted by Christopher Nolan in his visuals. Like it is so hard for me visually because of my eyesight, a while until I got LASIK. But his movies are so dark, like visually dark. I mean, there's some dark content as well, but like I can't see what's going on the screen. I still can't tell you what happens in the middle of this, The Dark Knight Returns. It's so.
I don't think this movie suffers from that.
But that's the thing. So that's one of the reasons that I didn't bother until I started. I've asked several people how was it just so dark, and everyone's like, no, it's bright and there's crazy things and it's all. And I'm
especially
like,
in 4K.
It reminds me a little bit of JFK, to where you have so many moments of these actors that have been in so many things coming into this huge movie with this huge director and coming in, boom, killing it, and then getting out.
Yeah. But as far as for me, it was literally just the visuals of how
I got you. Yeah. He's got style.
Lighting. It's the lighting in his films that just makes them very hard for me to watch.
Understood. Yeah. No, you're not alone.
I think this, Kevin, we were talking about Emma Stone being a big surprise. I think this was actually a big surprise. Everybody had the Spider-Verse film winning Best Animated Feature, but yet it was Hayao Miyazaki's supposedly last film, The Boy and the Heron, winning the Oscar for.
Has he won an Oscar before, Kyle?
Yeah, Spirited Away.
Okay.
But I think one of the reasons, if this is truly his last film, he deserves an Oscar every time, in my opinion. This.
I just want to mention too, feel free if you're watching this live, give us a shout out on YouTube, throw a comment out there. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking of these winners here of the Oscars.
Yeah, absolutely. We always love your comments, so please feel free to join in the show. Best musical performance. Billie Eilish, wasn't the Barbie song we thought was going to win, but What I Was Made For. Her and her brother win the Oscar for this. Already her second Oscar, guys.
2 nominations, 2 Oscars. Like, I mean, she's literally batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then
she's talented.
And I loved her little outfit. She had a schoolgirl tuxedo. It was like her little, so cute.
Guys, I saved the best for last. This was the category I think everybody in fandom was paying the most attention to at the Oscars. Godzilla -1 winning the Oscar for best visual effects. This was the highlight of my night. I couldn't care less who else won Oscars. I wanted Godzilla -1 to win this Oscar so bad, and when it was announced, it was great. And here's even the more wonderful thing. The crew brought all their own Godzillas with them.
Yes. The one thing I will say is I really hope that it's somewhere, and I've looked a few places and I can't seem to find it yet, but maybe you will know where it is. I would love to see the translation of what his speech was going to be, because it was written out, and I know it was written phonetically, and he was a little bit like, I mean, he was flustered. He was trying to speak a language that's not his own. And there were a few things where I was like, I was trying so hard to understand him, and I was just so excited for him because he was just, and everyone was so happy. And it was just like, oh, I wish I could understand what he's saying. So I really, if you have found a place where it's written out, where the transcript of it, I would love to know what he was actually saying. I got pieces, but I didn't get all of it.
Kevin?
A lurker says, I'm still upset Viola Davis didn't get a nomination for Air. She stole the show and deserved the best supporting actress. She was excellent in that. My thoughts on the Oscar one, Kyle, let's go back to Mr. Godzilla there for a second, if you don't mind. This was my favorite win as well. I remember texting you right away as soon as it happened. It was a big deal because of how you and I feel about this film. It was it was number 1 for your top 2003 list. I think it was number 2 or 3 for me. I think it went up to number 2 when I saw the black and white version when it was released in theaters briefly. And we got news too that the physical media copy will include the black and white, at least the Japanese version, which I would love to get. But what's really important about this win, in my opinion, is you got people that really deserve this win. Because if you've seen this film, it is amazing. Broad daylight monster making at its best, and scary, like not like I don't want to watch it, just scary as in like if I was in that situation, oh my God. But the other thing that's important about this win is I almost feel like this is a best picture win for a certain genre and a huge group of fans. It feels like a best picture win, Kyle. Wouldn't you say, in that sort of aspect?
I mean, we're all these years of Godzilla, and to have this, and what I'm going to say this was because I think it was one of the themes of the night of the Oscars, Kevin, because you also had the person who wrote the screenplay for American Fiction win the Oscar, and he talked about, instead of making $200 million movies, let's make $25 million movies or things like that. Mm-hmm. Godzilla -1 was made on an $18 million budget, and it had effects this spectacular. I mean, that Hollywood needs to take some lessons here on this.
Wasn't
real quick, Lacee, give me 1 second. If you've been following Twitter today too, there's been a clip posted of Christopher Nolan talking about how amazed and how stunned he was, and just how much in love he was with Godzilla -1. And so these guys are getting their props, and I love it. Lacee?
Didn't they do the same thing with this that they did with Skyline? Or not they, but basically, like, it was a couple of guys who were already the special effects guys who really they decided to become producers and make their own films. So their budget, they basically the special effects were done by the producers so that they could just do it in their own time and not have to worry about the dollar amount, the price tag of the special effects.
That that was part of it, but a lot of it was Toho just has limited budget, and
Yeah.
so
Okay.
so.
Cool.
But yeah, I was so happy for this, Kevin, and I agree with you completely. This was a huge win for I think that the entire Godzilla fandom and so much more. And I just think it was real special. But
It's
that,
movies like this that need to get recognized more for fandoms. You know, in a previous Culture Clash, we did the Saturn Awards, which targets us nerds, you know, geeks, movie nerds, cinephiles, whatever it is. You know, Godzilla fans. We need to have movies like this given more attention to, and also attention to the acting that's done in these films. If you watch that Godzilla movie, there's some fantastic acting.
oh yeah,
Fantastic.
top to bottom, everything in Godzilla -1
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But guys, this is Culture Clash. You're watching, and that's going to wrap up our section of Let's News. So let's talk about a few things we've seen. That's right. It is once again time to buy it, stream it, or unsee it. And we've got a plethora of things to talk about, but we've got one real big one to talk about. And Kevin, I'm going to say it's probably, as it stands right now, the biggest, most anticipated movie.
Are you talking about me?
I really wasn't, but
I am Dean the Dune popcorn bucket, and I've changed my voice.
Sorry.
I would like to know why a lot of people are getting a lot of extra butter with that particular popcorn bucket, but
all right, you gotta stop the butter jokes, dude. It's just getting weird now.
But we are going to be talking about several films, and like I was saying, Kevin, one of the biggest, I think, most anticipated films of last year that got moved to this year was Dune 2. And we're going to have a little spoiler alert before we go any further, because there are going to be some of these movies we're going to talk about, and we're going to get a little spoilery in our talk about it. And we are going to do that with Dune 2 because we've all seen it and we have thoughts to share. So, of course, too, we got to give our love to Letterboxd. Kevin started this last year with his following all the movies he's seen for the past in 2023. Lacee's on it. I am on it. You can follow us on Letterboxd. It's a growing app, Kevin. It's really starting to turn into something here.
It is. It's growing on my app because I'm up to 100 films as of January 1st, 2024.
I need more free time.
Wait, January 1st, you have 100 films for 2024 as of the first day of 2024?
Yep.
You watched 100 films in one day?
No, I'm up to 100 films as of today since January 1st.
Oh, okay. I was so confused for a second. I'll be all right. I'm going to just step away.
That's okay. Get a little spice because things are about to get spicy because we are going to talk about Dune 2. I'll ask you guys, each of you first, what kind of theater did you see Dune 2 in? Because I think this is important. Kevin?
Well, I wanted to go to an AMC theater for obvious reasons. I wanted to see if anyone was going to have any of these Dune popcorn buckets that were so legendarily talked about, and even a Saturday Night Live skit was done about these before these were even available. And so I drove 50 miles south to my nearest AMC, and I went to the first showing on a Friday, which was at noon, and they had them. And so I bought one. And I saw the movie, and it was great. It was an Dolby Atmos style thing with the seats and all that kind of stuff. And the sound and the picture was fantastic.
Lacee, what about you?
I went to 6 different AMC movie theaters, and none of them had the popcorn bucket because I thought it was hilarious. And I think it's going to be definitely something that's spoken about for years.
But if we have anything to say about it, yes.
Right. But I wasn't lucky enough to get one. But I have the Regal pass. So I went to my local Regal. They do have a Dune popcorn bucket. It's not the same. It's a standard metal. Anyway. Yeah, I saw it. Right. It wasn't a fancy theater. It didn't have any extra words or anything. It wasn't Dolby or THA. And it was just a nice thing because it was just me in like a 200 person auditorium because it was like, I don't know, noon on a Thursday or something. And it was great. because I got to sit in the middle and just me.
What about you, Kyle?
I saw it on a Dolby Atmos theater, and actually I was in AMC, and I don't know if you had this, Kevin, but they had Denny Villanueva come on beforehand, talk about why he wanted this in Dolby Vision,
Yes,
in Dolby Atmos. And I gotta tell you, not only was the movie spectacular, but in the Dolby theater, I got a nice chair massage throughout the entire movie.
Mine might have been Dolby then, because I had that too. He talked about that as well. So I don't know. Maybe I just didn't know.
But I was a big fan of the first Dune film. Really enjoyed it. But this one, it went up another level for me. This movie was visually stunning. Great performances across the board. I thoroughly enjoyed this. There's one person I want to bring up here in a minute, but I want Kevin, Lacee. Kevin, you go first. Tell me what did you think of Dune 2?
I enjoyed the first film, and I was very curious about it. I watched the first film prior to seeing the second one. Now, I got to give you a quick little history here. First of all, I've never read the Dune books. I'm sorry, but I never will. I'm not much of a reader anymore, as you've just listened to or have seen at my letterbox. There's a reason why I don't read anymore. I watch movies. I watch TV. I'm a visually and audio dude. So I was not a fan of the original 84 Dune. I remember walking out of that in the theater. I've gone and watched it plenty of times since then. Still not a fan of it. I was a fan of the sci-fi series interpretation miniseries in 2000, actually. And I also enjoyed Dune, Children of Dune, which came out 3 years later, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of got me into Dune. So when Denny was going to be doing this film or these films, I'm like, great, perfect director for this visually. And Dune 2 was definitely better than the first one. It was fantastic. Visually, it was great. I loved the overall cinematic approach to it. I loved the cast of characters and the moments that they had, the action it had, the tension between certain scenes and characters. And when people are complaining about the books and the translation, all that's all white noise to me. I don't care. You guys have to realize something. I'm not of the original Dune I've read it thing. I am of the people that are spending more money on this than probably the people that have read the books. I'm the casual fan that's going to go see these for a particular reason and maybe buy it on digital or on DVD. I judge these by the movies themselves and how they are interpreted, and that's how I want to be entertained with Dune.
Lacee, what about you? What did you think of Dune 2?
Well, I tried to read the original. I tried to read the book a million years ago, and it just didn't get. I tried and several times and never got in it. Therefore, because we're just going to say I'm not a fan of David Lynch. I don't. He does a lot of this and that, and I just don't. I want A to Z. I mean, I'm a fairly linear person when it comes to watching a film. So most of his stuff doesn't appeal to me. So I never bothered with the original one. Didn't know until you just said something a minute ago that there was another one as a miniseries in 2000. I didn't even know that.
Fantastic miniseries.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, now that you've said that, I'm actually interested in potentially going back and seeing that one. This one, I will say, I came to this series because of Momoa, because of Chalamet, because of my brain just keeps saying brand movies. No, Josh Brolin. Sorry.
Brolin.
It has a huge cast, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I enjoyed the first one. This one, it was a little bit heavy on the Messiah religious stuff for my particular tastes as a non-religious human. But I did enjoy watching the struggle between those who were like, you're full of crap versus, there's a legitimate conversation to be had. I do think the like cut to black when they ended it was like, okay, so I did not know that there was, I thought that it was 1 and 2 and that was going to be it. Now there's information that there's going to be a third one.
Dune Messiah, which was the third, which was the book that followed the original Dune book, which really kind of finishes the tale. A lot of people weren't sure if that was going to get made or not. And I think that
It will
Warner
now.
Brothers- yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think Warner Brothers knew what they had, and they saw what they caught, and Denny has been pushing to do it. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. It's just a matter of it being announced.
I think
I think all the actors had an option for a third film. I think, and if they do Messiah, depending on what they do, it could even bring back Jason Momoa. So
yeah, I mean, the one like spoilery thing that I did hear just everywhere was that Duncan Idaho's not dead, and I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. I'll watch. I'll see.
So-
You know, but I will say that I think that the costuming was amazing. The fight scenes were amazing. Just all of the different aspects of this film, I think it comes together for something that's really interesting, even if you're not as maybe mystified by the storyline of it. Like I said, the religious sort of interaction just kind of at one point I was like, dude, like, because I felt like Rebecca Ferguson's character almost became a villain.
and that's a good point, and I think that's one of the things that's kind of one of the things. If you've read the Dune books or really a diehard of Dune, you understand what's going on there. But guys, real quick too, there is a particular actor in Dune 2 I want to talk about because I really think we are on the prefaces of him becoming huge, and that is Austin Butler.
He was already Elvis. He's already huge.
I understand that, but I mean, if the
Elvis didn't do is what we kind of thought it was going to do, but it put him on the map for sure.
I've been watching that kid since the Disney shows. Like he's
phenomenal.
Talented.
And if
but Lacey, I think what Kyle's getting to is that not everyone's us.
That's fair. Sure.
What I'm saying is he's about this close to becoming a true full-fledged household superstar name, especially if the rumors are true of what one of his upcoming projects is going to be, which there is a video out there of him doing a certain type of training, possibly getting ready for Heat 2. So just throwing that out.
What Kyle's referring to is the gun training that is similar to what Keanu was doing for Wick movies. And he's going to be in Heat 2. We're wondering if he's going to be playing a younger Macaulay, which is the Val Kilmer character, or is this a brand new character? And then he's going to be coming out this summer with Tom Hardy in The Motorcyclists, about a 65.
As well.
I'm sorry, Kyle. I didn't hear you because I was talking.
Norman Reedus is also in that film as well.
Yes, Norman Reedus. Yeah, Norman Reedus is in it. It's about a bike club from the 60s, and he just looks good. And if you haven't been watching Masters of Air, he's also the lead in that. I mean, he is getting ready to explain. And Kyle, you have a great point there. Austin is just going to be huge soon. Yeah.
So, go ahead, Kevin.
I just want to mention, I want to go bring it back down to Timothy Chalamet. I thought he was great in this. The more I see him, the more I'm liking him as an actor. I'm going to bring him up a little bit later. He's got huge potential, and I see why he's kind of like the it kid right now. He was really good in this, and the fact that the character Paul that he's playing in this is kind of maybe making a little turn here than from what the casual fan didn't know about, but the readers, of course, do.
So with that, guys, let's get your final verdicts. Dune 2. Kevin, you buying it, you streaming it, or you unseeing it?
Buying it.
Lacey?
Buying it.
It's a buy it for me too.
That means all of us are going to have these 4Ks or Blu-rays within the next 6 months.
One version or another.
I will likely wait until the third one is released and buy the full at once. I'm not big on buying things piecemeal.
One last thing, just lurkers in the chat said, anyone see Momoa's Guinness commercial? Joe Flanagan and Momoa's mom. Stargate Atlantis lives. Yes, that was funny.
I love that commercial. I love Joe Flanagan. I think he's great and highly underrated.
That was great. That was awesome.
That was great. But we do have a few other things we've seen as well too. It's a show a lot. Everybody seems to be talking about, Kevin. It's Shogun. I've seen the first couple of episodes. How many have you seen?
I've seen the first 3. I was going to watch 4 on was it FX, but I think Hulu gets to watch it first and then it jumps over to FX like a couple nights later. So I was like sitting down ready to watch it on Wednesday and I'm like, oh, I can't watch it quite yet. So because I don't have Hulu. So
Lacey,
I'm totally enjoying it. Sorry.
Lacey, have you watched any Shogun?
No, I haven't.
quick little story here. I actually kind of got indoctrinated into Shogun, but not by necessarily by my choice, because my mother was an absolute fan of the original version of this done in the late 70s, early 80s with Richard Chamberlain. So much so that she recorded it off of TV. It was an annual thing of she would watch it. She now owns the DVDs of it. So I was pretty indoctrinated to this. But Kevin, I'm really liking what I've seen so far of this. I love the fact that so much of this is of Asian um, cast and crew, and the actors in this are absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait to see how this thing plays out. This has been surpassed my expectations.
Same. I completely exactly what you said is how I feel about it as well. I'm sucked into it. I can't wait to watch the next episode.
And come to find out, the lead actor also did all his own stunts.
Yeah. By the way, Kenny in the chat says, buy the 2-movie Dune collection along with the OG Dune. And then he also says, I love Shogun, only seen the first episode, but loving it.
Yeah. I'm saying, as it stands right now, obviously it's a stream it because of realistically, but I'm already sold. I'm calling this a buy it, Kevin.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. As long as the last episode doesn't suck. If it sucks, then I'm going to go, So for now, yes.
We are only going to get to one season. They've already said we're just doing the true original story, and that is it. We're not doing anything.
But it does make me want to go back and watch the original one because I have that on DVD. So
yeah, it's a classic. Up next, a new movie to Netflix starring the one and only Millie Bobby Brown. Kevin, this kind of snuck up on me. I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, I didn't realize she was doing this. Damsel, Kevin, I enjoyed this. This was a fun movie.
Oh, is that it? Are you gonna go into more?
Oh, no, I was gonna let you get your thoughts in.
I literally just watched it today because I noticed she had it on there, and I had time to get it in there. And yeah, it's so think of it this way. We're not going to get spoilery about it, but it's if you watch the trailer, you'll notice it's basically in a fantasy type setting where there's dragons and knights and swords. It's during that time, and there's a interesting twist of what happens, and she gets kind of betrayed in a certain way, and there's an ancient kind of ritual that happens that she doesn't know about. There's a dragon that's involved. She gets to kick some ass. She gets to learn about what's happening. And so yeah, it's basically Millie's like she's growing up. She's taken bigger parts, and she gets to kind of showcase her acting in this as well as some badassery. The only issue that I had with this, Kyle, do you want to guess what it was?
Too dark at times?
Yeah. There's some scenes that take place in caves, and it was just too dark. And yeah, but there was some good CGs when it came to like a dragon and some other things. And also I was kind of, Ray Winstone is in this, which I like. Angela Bassett was in this. A pretty good cast as well, but Robin Wright as Queen Isabel, her role surprised me, and it was kind of like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. A totally different fantasy look for Robin Wright. But
yes,
you hit it on the nose, Kevin. This movie has an amazing cast in it when you really look at it. You said Millie Bobby Brown, Ray Winstone, Angela Bassett, Nick Robinson, who was one of the brothers in the original Jurassic World Dominion, Jurassic World film, Robin Wright. I mean, just on and on. And what I really liked about this movie was I actually think Millie Bobby Brown put in a great performance in this film as far as being a strong character and it being something different from what you typically would do. And I would be remiss too if I did not mention the voice of the dragon.
I was just gonna say that.
Sorey Aguilera, who for me, she's been in so many things, and you recognize her voice as soon as you hear it. Of course, for me, most recently, she was in The Expanse, which she is wonderful.
She played a mother terrorist in 24.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And she's got this kind of like raw husky voice. She's a actress from India. She's obviously has huge success over there, and she's got that voice. And when I was listening to the voice of the dragon going, I know that voice. Where's that voice? And I didn't get it till I looked it up, but she was fantastic.
And what about, go ahead, Lacee.
She was at Dragon Con a few years ago for The Expanse, and she had her line was like around the planet. But she is the most genuine. Like, she's so sweet and so, I mean, she wants to know, she asks you questions. She wants to know about you. Like, what's your favorite part of the convention? Is this your first convention? This is my first. She's the nicest human I've met at a convention.
Very cool.
Absolutely. And her voice it melts your face like butter. Like, it's just,
yeah.
It's amazing.
So you're just like,
and I did ask her, I said, please, will you pronounce your name for me so that I can know from your mouth how to say it, because every talk show it's different. And so it's Shora Agdashlu.
Not going to be able to pronounce that.
Right. It took me a couple of tries. Yeah. When she told me that, she's so sweet.
Real quick, Kevin, before we move on, I did want to ask you about the dragon itself in this. I know you talked about some dark effects, but what did you think? How did you think the dragon looked overall?
I thought it looked pretty cool, but it reminded me of Game of Thrones. So, it didn't stand out. Some moments with the dragon and what the dragon did stood out. But when it looked like dragons, Game of Thrones did it best.
So Kevin, is it a buy it, stream it, or see it?
Right now, I'm just going to keep it as a stream it, maybe stream it once. I don't know if I'm glad I saw it. It was interesting, but I don't know if I'll go back and rewatch it. It's kind of, it falls into that kind of Netflix gray area. So I'm just going to say stream it. Definitely worth seeing if you got some time and you want to see Millie, all grown up kicking some butt and some, cool, another fantasy take on dragons and that type of genre. Check it out.
So it feels like it's a fantasy version of like Ready or Not or The Hunt, like where
Ready or Not is what came up to my mind. To be honest with you.
A family that tries to kill her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
For me, it's definitely a stream it. Though I would probably put it like if I found it for like $10 on sale or something like that, I'd buy it because I think it is a fun movie, and I think it's the kind of movie where, especially if you have a family, you can watch it with the entire family. There's not anything that's super crazy in it. I think you could watch it that way. And
the only way I would buy it if it was ever released on physical media is if Millie Bobby Brown was signing at a convention. Then I would go buy it to have her sign the DVD or Blu-ray. So
there we go. And don't forget, she soon won't be Millie Bobby Brown. She's soon to be Millie Bobby Bon Jovi. So
that's right.
Okay, we're gonna do a little something fun here because Lacee is the queen of movie food and she gets to see a lot of movies. So we are entering the segment now that we are going to call Lacee's movie food beatdown. And she's seen several films that Kevin and I may have not gotten a chance to see yet, and we're just going to let her go to town with some breakdown on her film, starting first up with the Oscar-nominated American Fiction.
Okay. American Fiction it has every aspect of a movie that I would not like. It is dramatic. It talks about death. It talks about dementia and Alzheimer's. It talks about like all these like desperately horrible things that people have to deal with. It also talks about a lot of race relation type stuff, black versus white and white guilt and a lot of things these are things that I just don't want to watch because they always bring me down. This movie was so fun and so funny and so well done. And so it was sarcastic and sardonic and sentimental all at the same time. And without being spoilery at all, go see this movie or rent it or stream it or whatever.
Jeffrey Wright is one of my favorite actors. Good. That's why I want to see it. Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright is amazing. And Sterling K. Brown steals every scene he's in. And
good actor.
One of my favorite actors right now, Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown.
These are both actors, and everyone else in the movie is amazing, but it was one of those things where like every actor in this film had to be willing to just completely embrace the part that they were in and just know, like, it was so good. It was so good. Definitely a buy it when it comes out, because I mean, I don't know. I think it was in the theater, so it's not Netflix. So at least I'm hoping it'll have a physical release. But I'll definitely be buying this one.
Lacee, violence gives me a tingly in my tummy. Skadoosh, because it's Kung Fu Panda 4.
Skadoosh!
Very true. Okay, so it is a fantastic fourth installment.
Wait. Lacey, hold those up again. Kyle, I'm going to remove the slideshow. We need to see this. Look at this. She's got the trilogy going on there. There you go.
I'm a big Jack Black nerd. It was so much fun. It was a little bit more action adventure-y. It had some new characters that we can that everyone's going to be happy to hear about. It had some returning voice actors that you don't expect to hear from. The animation's fantastic. The final song is Jack Black's Jack Black and Kyle Gass, so Tenacious D, doing Britney Spears' "Oops, I Did It Again," which is apparently he was having a conversation with the guy who did the music. And I'm so bad with music, but he's like a big music guy. He's like a famous music guy, and he was like, "Well, if you're going to do that, let me put my spin on it. Let me get in there with you." So he actually like did the arrangements so they could, and it's just a great. And there's a video right now of the whole cast doing kind of like a makeshift. It's like a makeshift music video that they did at the premiere, where they all just kind of ran around dancing on the red carpet, and it's really cute. You should find that on YouTube.
Real quick, by the way, the cast for this movie is impressive. Jack Black, of course, Awkwafina, Viola Davis, she comes up again. Dustin Hoffman comes back. Bryan Cranston, James Hong, Ian McShane, Ki-Hu Kwan is in here.
Yep.
Ronnie Chen, Seth Rogen, impressive. Yeah. So, and by the way, Lurker says, how was Jeffrey Wright not nominated before this year? Because it was Bond, Hunger Games. Actors can be good in blockbusters too. Completely agree with you, which is the big problem that I have with the Oscars. Thank you.
Basquiat. Come on. He was.
Wait, Lacey, we got a couple. A few more things here.
Okay.
I've actually seen this, and what I want to just say real quick before you give your review is, I'm to the point now. John Cena cannot make a movie that isn't at least fun, because he's great.
Dude, John Cena has mastered every craft that he undertakes. He taught himself Chinese during the pandemic. He has done more Make-A-Wish. He's granted more Make-A-Wish wishes than every other person who has ever done a Make-A-Wish wish.
He's kind of becoming the action version of Keanu Reeves to
I mean, I would listen to this man read a phone book. He is so genuine and so nice, and every time he's on a talk show, he's like, always willing to do the crazy stuff and cook something or whatever. And movies are so fun, and they're
how is Freelance? I've been wanting to see this. It looks fun.
Really fun. It was.
Alison Brie is in it. I mean, yeah.
Yep. Alison Brie in her very typical, like she has. There's many things that she does well, but one of the things she does very well is prim and proper to, oh my God, what just happened? Freak out. Right. And it's kind of perfect in this movie. And then there's the Christian
Slater.
Slater
and you always and without giving any spoilers, like you think it's going one direction and you think it's going another direction, and then they kind of take the wind out of your sails, and you realize that I'm usually pretty good at picking the endings of movies, and this one I didn't pick. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, nice. So Lacey, before we're going for the two, as great as John Cena and Alison Brie are, Juan Pablo Raba steals this movie.
Yes, he's so good. He is so funny and so just matter of fact in everything. It's like he doesn't speak any lines; he just drops them for you to pick up and realize what he's saying. He's so funny. He's so good.
And Kevin, just for you, Alice Eve has a cameo in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right on.
It says that it's on Amazon, Apple TV. That means you could purchase those, but I want to know if it's free on something I already have. I don't have a Hulu, so
gotcha.
I'm curious. Yeah, I need to see this. But you have it on Blu-ray there, I saw, right?
Yeah, and it was not expensive. I think it was like $9 or $11.
Oh, okay, cool. Good to know. Did it come with a digital copy?
I don't know yet. I'll have to check my Vudu afterward.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. But you saw something else that was just re-released.
Did. Okay, so without too many, a lot of people are complaining about the 4K and the transfer and the audio and all this kind of stuff.
Just real quick, before the audio listeners, because we didn't say the name yet, it's
Right,
True Lies. You got the 4K edition actually in your hand before I did.
Yes, and it is 4K Blu-ray and digital copy. Boom.
Nice.
So I will say a lot of people have been complaining about this. A lot of people have been talking about how they didn't like the transfer, they didn't like the audio, or they didn't like the video, the grain and all that stuff. I don't know what TV setup they're watching it on, but I just got a brand new theater system put in that is 4K. I think my screen's like 120 inches.
So it was a good transfer.
And it was fantastic. I don't have a single complaint about anything on this disc. Now, maybe I'm biased because this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I've been waiting for this for so long, but I didn't see anything that was problematic.
Well, what did you like about it?
Oh, I loved it. The blacks and the color schemes were so crisp. The sound was phenomenal. I mean, right now I don't actually have my setup yet for my furniture, so I literally have one chaise lounge that's like underneath the projector, and it's one chair like in front of the screen. So, but it shook the room.
Wow,
It's good. I very much enjoyed it.
I'm still trying to figure out why you have it and I don't, and I pre-ordered it.
Well, I pre-ordered it the day that it was open for pre-orders. I ordered this. I ordered.
You must have done it before I did, because I'm in the queue. I guess that's the deal then. So yeah.
I don't know. I got this, Aliens, and The Abyss at the same time, like all three in the same order. And in the past week, I've gotten like 13 emails for both of the other ones, and neither one of them is saying that it's currently unavailable. Right. The other one is saying it's going to get to me in May. So
sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
No, I just want to say too, for those of you who are maybe new to what's going on here. A few months back, they announced that several James Cameron films, which have never seen, even some of them haven't even seen a Blu-ray release,
right,
are coming out on 4K. And what was been kind of interesting too is digital 4K has already released all 4 of the films that Cameron was doing. I think there's going to be some special Avatar re-releases as well for 4K, but I just want to echo everything Lacey said. The 4K is crystal clear. I mean, it's as sharp as it can be. And then you throw in that Dolby Atmos sound, and it's mind blowing. And I have Aliens in 4K, and I've already watched it. You are in for an absolute treat, because there are things in Aliens that I never really could notice because it was so blurry because of the accent. And in the 4K, it's so crisp that it's just like it's like a whole new movie.
Yeah. I mean, there are people that are commenting about the frame rate and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, dude, sit back, watch the movie, enjoy the movie, enjoy the fact that you can see every square inch of the screen. Like, it's amazing. I don't know why everyone's complaining, but I have zero complaints about this transfer. And the film,
so it's obviously a buy it.
I mean, this is definitely a buy it. This is I have it on DVD. And then this is the Blu-ray and 4K and digital. So yeah,
we're going to be showcasing the James Cameron releases throughout this year, because we're going to be celebrating obviously Terminator, because it's celebrating its 40th anniversary, and several of these are celebrating its another anniversary. And James Cameron finally releasing these is great. So that's awesome. I can't wait to get mine.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
And we got one more movie to talk about real quick, and it's a movie Kevin and I haven't seen. And
one for Lacey's picks. So yeah,
for Lacey's picks.
Yeah.
The last of her movie foo. It's one Kevin and I haven't seen. It's obviously Emma Stone just won the Oscar for it, won all kinds of Oscars. It's actually, you can watch it now on Hulu. Poor Things.
Okay, so first of all, I don't think there are movies that are better than the sum of its parts. And then there are movies that are amazing sound, amazing set design, amazing costuming, amazing acting even. But the storyline and just the general overall is just like, what the heck just happened? Like, this is one of those movies. Like, everyone in this movie was good. The costuming was fantastic. The color was amazing. Like the color timing, whoever did the color timing on this film, that needs to become a category. Like it was amazing. It won set design, it won hair and makeup and costuming, and then it won, was it adapted screenplay?
I think so. Adapted.
And then Emma won for Best Actress. Now, plot line of the story is that a woman kills herself while pregnant, and the Frankenstein type doctor decides that because she chose to exit this world, that's not fair to the baby. So he takes the brain out of the baby and puts it in the mother and then brings her back to life. So you have a full-grown woman with the child, like with the brain of a child. And so it's literally watching a child grow up without actually by using the same actress. So when it starts, because it's a very sex heavy film, there's probably 40 sex scenes in a 2 hour and 21 minute movie.
Hence the joke that Jimmy Kimmel made. Yes.
Like it's I mean, I can't tell, like there's like the first time she meets everyone, it's like crotch grabbing, and I mean, so I'm not a prude. I don't have a problem with it. It was just like, okay, can we just get on with it? Like, let's figure out what the story is. Because there was a little bit of a conversation about like women having autonomy over their own bodies, which is great. But by using sex scenes and like prostitution to say that when she's technically still a toddler and these people are having sex with the brain of a toddler, okay, it's a lot. Okay. And also, without spoilers, there was no ending to this movie that would have made me go, oh, okay, that's what it was about.
So I noticed you bought it.
I bought it. I bought it one because I hadn't seen it yet. I hadn't seen it in the theaters, and it was on sale. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Everyone says it's amazing. It's one of those things where I feel like people people watched it and were like, I have no idea what just happened, but I mean, it's obviously, because it's been nominated, so I must vote for it because otherwise I'm an idiot. Like, I feel like people just didn't understand it because I didn't understand it. I mean, whatever. I'm not saying.
Well, do you see why that? Because I don't know, but do you understand why she nominated and won for Best Actress? Was she good in her role? She
was good in her role, but keep in mind this was also nominated for Best Film.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
So to wrap it up, you're not a fan of this film then?
No.
Okay, so if you were to tell people to buy it, stream it, or unsee it, what would you say?
Unsee it. I'm not.
Oh, wow.
I'm done. I mean,
now I kind of want to see it.
Or the car wreck morbid curiosity kicks in.
It really is a lot of that. I mean, there's like a dog with a chicken head or with a goat head, or there's a goat.
Don't spoil it anymore. Let's just leave it right there. Yeah.
Okay. So it's Frankenstein meets the Island of Dr. Moreau, but with a female toddler who is sexualized from day one.
Okay.
Well, let's get on to something. Kevin, you have been recently exposed to one of my favorite classic films at this point, a great Jim Belushi film. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Taking Care of Business.
Nice.
Jim Belushi, Taking Care of Business, co-starring Charles Grodin. I got the DVD right here. Hey, wait a minute, that's a picture of my DVD. There you go. I got to give credit to Nathaniel White, one of our listeners and one of my good Facebook friends. He turned me on to this movie, and this is during the time where I was watching James Belushi films, and Mr. Destiny is one of my favorites, and this was like right around this time. And of course, he had done, of course, Red Heat with Schwarzenegger, and I'm really surprised I'd not seen this film. And it was just a fun film about a guy who's getting out of jail, or he gets out of jail a little earlier, but it's like white collar jail, and he wants to go see the Cubs. He's a big Cubs fan. And he ends up walking into Charles Grodin's life and taking over Charles Grodin's kind of like almost I'm done with being a yuppie type life. And Annie DeSalvo's in it, Lauren Lachlan. And I was like, who's Lauren Lachlan? Like, oh, she was the wife in the movie. Oh crap. It's the Christopher Lambert prison film, the Fortress. Yeah, she was in it. Hector Elizondo was in it. Mako's in it. Gates McFadden and John Delancey, TNG alumni, are in it.
There's a great scene with Gates McFadden where she's trying to impress a certain. What she does is hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, just a really fun film. Plot is not as plausible as you'd want it to be, but it doesn't matter. The characters are great. Check out Taking Care of Business if you haven't seen it. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I will be owning it.
It's a fun. Kevin, I'm wondering if Jim Belushi was writing some of these films for himself, because to get the time with not only the lovely lady he did in this movie, but and then Rene Russo, Mr. Destiny. I feel like he
yeah.
He might not have been writing them, but he might have been helping out with casting.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Kevin, up next and finally here, you recently purchased Peacock, the streaming app, for a couple of reasons, and one of those was Ted.
Yeah, I purchased Peacock. Ted was one of the reasons why I did. I'm a huge fan of the two films. Big fan of Seth MacFarlane, and this TV series did not disappoint. It's listed as a mini series, so I don't know if there's going to be another season. There's only 7 episodes, but it's basically the prequel to what we see from the movies, and it's great because it takes place in high school. The young kid that plays the young Mark Wahlberg character is fantastic, and the pop culture references to 1992, I think, is when it takes place in, is fantastic. The set dressings definitely feel like that era, and I thought it was very funny the way that it ended, because you learn quickly that the son, I'm forgetting his name, John, Ted's best friend, they're in high school. They're all in high school. Everyone knows who Ted is, so it's not like a big thing. And he's a virgin, and he's trying to lose his virginity before he ends his junior year of high school. And what happens towards the end of that last episode is hilarious, because something happens that we've all seen, and I don't want to tease it, but thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly rewatchable. I was laughing out loud during many scenes.
Kevin, I'm just going to say for you for this.
Oh, by the way, it's a buy it for me. If this comes out on physical media, I'm getting it.
But I was going to say, there's another reason why you were a big fan of this show too, and I know what it is. Because you got to
narrow it down, Kyle. There's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the Orville love that's in this.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. There's like several Orville cast members in this. Of course, the plays his father, the principal, and of course his cousin. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting all the names here, but yeah, he definitely brings. Tim Russ comes back and plays a role in it, from Voyager, but he was also in the Orville as well. So yeah, he's bringing back his Orville alumni, giving them jobs. It's great. Scott Grimes, that's right. He plays the father, and he's funny.
Great makeup job on him.
Yeah, I was just zooming in, like, is that Scott Grimes?
It is Scott Grimes.
Nice.
In a role you've never seen him in before, I promise.
Cool.
I've watched a couple episodes of this. It is quite funny, and it's definitely, it pushes the envelope, and he's not afraid to do it, and it's fun. I think it's going to get picked up for a second season. So
real quick, Nathaniel is in the chat, and he says, "So glad you enjoyed it." Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. That is a keeper in my library. That is Taking Care of Business.
Okay, Kevin, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier because we were talking about Austin Butler. Masters of the Air just wrapped up, and Apple also put out a documentary about the real people that Masters of Air was based on.
Yeah, the 9th and final episode just dropped. God, this was amazing. It definitely is a great companion piece to Band of Brothers, guys, because you got the guys in the air after you learned about the guys on the ground, and what the guys in the air had to do is just harrowing. And fantastic, and they all have different stories, and they cover all aspects of it, even the Tuskegee Airmen as well. And then they advertise the Bloody 100th, which is the documentary. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. Steven Spielberg's on that. People involved, the historians, the actors. It is just amazing that this story has finally been told, and reaching out to some of the surviving members that are still around for it as well.
Is this World War I or II?
World War II.
Okay.
It was about air superiority. They were not going to be able to do D-Day, invasion of France, until they had air superiority over Europe, and they were able to do that. And you saw how they did it, and it was amazing.
And Kevin, one more thing we mentioned him earlier when we talked Dune 2. Lacey, you talked about this a few weeks ago on Culture Clash. It's just recently hit HBO Max for streaming. I do intend to check it out. But Kevin, you watched Wonka.
Yeah, I watched it on Max, and I really did enjoy this. It was a lot of fun. Great. This is where I started to realize, Timothée Chalamet, he can act. He's, after seeing him in Dune, and he's all serious, and now he's kind of like this, this kid at heart, wanting the best out of people, and being trusting to a certain degree. But the cast really fills this out, and the sets were fantastic. The costumes were fantastic. Keegan-Michael Key was probably my favorite as the cop, and Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa was hilarious. The only thing, there was songs that I really enjoyed, but there were some songs I was kind of like, okay, it feels kind of, and I was checking my phone a couple times during a few of those songs. But the giraffe scene I really liked, and that song there, that was a lot of fun. But for me, I'm on the fence about buying it. I will definitely stream it. I'll kind of hover around the buying of it. Masters of Air is definitely a buy it for me. So yeah, there I am.
If you really want to check out Timothée Chalamet and his acting chops, check out Call Me by Your Name and Miss Stevens, MISS Stevens.
Okay.
Those are some of his younger. He's phenomenal. I mean, he was nominated for an actor at 21 for Best Actor for Call Me by Your Name, and it's just phenomenal.
Kenny's in the chat saying, and you still need to check out Masters of the Air. You had Apple Plus TV. Yeah, Kenny, check it out. It is a great watch. Thank you for the tips on that, Lacey, because I kind of want to check out some of his earlier work. So yeah.
So that's going to wrap up everything we've seen, which was quite a lot this week. But you know what? We got one more segment to go because it's time to do a little bit of time traveling. That is right. It is the time travel spotlight as we continue to write chapters to the Culture Clash Guide of Time Travel. And this episode, we are talking about 2012 Rian Johnson directed Looper, starring Bruce Willis, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and a whole lot of people who, before they were big names. Guys, this is a very interesting time travel film. It is one of those movies, Kevin, that when it came out, I don't know if a lot of people really glommed onto it, but it's got this incredible cult following sense. I think it's the movie that really put Rian Johnson on the map. And I think it is one of the more underrated, but really decent, solid science fiction films we've had in the last 25 years.
Yes, definitely. Stylistically, it's great. Concept is great. There's still a part of it I'm still trying to figure out. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. It's an interesting premise, and I like the idea of it, and I love the fact that Joseph Gordon-Levitt also had a little prosthetic thing going on, so he looked more like Bruce Willis, which I thought was cool. And Emily Blunt was good as well, and Paul Dano in it as well, who I thought was good. It's just a really cool take on use of time travel and how it affects things.
Lacey, what about you? What were your thoughts on Looper?
I do not share your opinions. I have some issues with the concept in general. I think that with two specific things, they could have just not even had a movie. Like, to change it with two, like, there's the logistical aspect of it seemed a little bit unnecessary. Are we going to talk about this later? Or do you want me to tell you what I was talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna dive into that. We're just getting your first impressions right now.
Yeah,
so your first impression is you're not a fan of it. So I want to know why.
It was okay. I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I love Bruce Willis. I will keep it because I'm a completist when it comes to owning their items. Will I watch it again? Not unless someone else I know says, "Oh, you've got Looper. Let's watch that." I'll have it. It will be available.
So just to give you a quick little plot synopsis, Looper is a 2012 science fiction film written and directed by Brian Johnson, produced by Ram Bergman and James D. Stern. It stars Bruce Willis, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Emily Blunt. It revolves around present-day contract killers called Loopers, sent back through time by criminal syndicates from the future. Kevin, this movie's got a lot more than just time travel going on with it. It's got a little bit of superpower, kid going a little Akira crazy. A lot of people pull a little bit of some Akira out of this as well with some of the other things. But
You said Akira, right?
yeah, Akira, the classic Japanese animated film. And I can see where they get that from. But one of the things, I think this was at the time for me seeing this, one of the more intriguing ideas in the use of time travel, with the aspect of basically you're an assassin in the past or in your present day, and eventually you will know when your time is up. And that's I found the concept behind that very intriguing.
I like the concept when you have the mob involved, because I've always been a fan of mob stuff. Lacey, I'll get to you in just 1 second. I just want to make the mob point here. I like that the mob is powerful enough to where they outlaw this use of time travel, but mob's like, no. We need to keep track of and keep our power where we are now. And people that threaten us, we're going to take out their lineage. We're going to take them out before they have a chance to obstruct our way of life. And they're using it secretly, and they're hiring these assassins called Loopers, and they send these people back to the Loopers to kill them in the past. Attached to Loopers is money and currency, or silver, basically, that they use to pay them off. But then there's Jeff Daniels' character, who was from the future, is sent back to control these Loopers in the past. It was a one-way trip for him, and he's controlling all these Loopers. And occasionally you find out that these Loopers are going to become the target themselves when they're not useful anymore. Am I getting that right?
Pretty close. Yeah, I think that's a fair.
I haven't mentioned the kid with superpowers yet, because they do mention that in the future, people get this telekinetic power. These, what do they call them? The T something?
TK.
Oh, like TKs, like in Star Wars, the TK numbers, and then so that becomes kind of a subplot of why Bruce Willis, who plays the older version of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is coming back, and that's where it gets a little wonky. Lacey, you had a comment you wanted to make.
Well, it seems to me that if you are in the mob in the future, and the only way to get rid of people that you want to get rid of is by sending them to the past, so that someone has to shoot them and kill them. It seems to me that because they always go to the same place. Each Looper has their own spot. They have to
their kill spot,
Yeah, they have to go to the spot and wait for the person shows up, and just boom, and then they flip them over, and the money is like in their back, right? Like under their shirt. Why not make the kill spot a furnace and just call it a day? Because what Joseph Gordon-Levitt does is shoot the guy, take his money, and then dump him in a furnace. Why don't they just move the spot to the furnace, eliminate the guy to begin with? That's completely eliminating the human error or human feelings, which is what causes the problem for the whole rest of the movie.
Kyle has a thought.
I have an answer for you.
Okay, tell me.
So think about it this way: if the spot is like a furnace per se,
yep.
What if they send him in and the furnace is broken that day, and they don't know it? I mean, you're
also burning up currency and making it hard to get as well.
You wouldn't have to have the currency, because there wouldn't be anybody there to pay.
And there is an aspect that there is control over the Loopers, and there's somebody there to make sure the job is done.
Right. So Jeff Daniels can just make his job where the furnace, he just sits next to the furnace all day and makes sure that it stays lit. It just takes one guy.
I think there's a lot of logistical things
Okay.
to do
So
that.
that's fine. I figured that there would be an answer for that, which is cool. Now, the other question is, why on earth would you send someone back and have them shoot their own person? That's just idiocy.
That's the sacrifice.
So
No, that's the
stupid.
sacrifice they make with the contract.
Right, but to prevent the problems that they have, where they hear the guy singing a song that he remembered from his childhood, and then he couldn't shoot him because he knew it was him, right? So instead, don't send him back to himself. Send him back to a different looper.
That's part of the drama of the story, Lacey. You gotta kind of go, what's gonna make this more interesting? What's gonna create this? What's gonna make also, it could be a setup too. That was another thing I was thinking about. Are they gonna be able to kill their own self? And if not, then this is a reason, oh, they're not gonna do what we're gonna do, then we get to kill them. So it's like either you kill yourself or we're going to do it ourselves. So it's in a way, it's kind of closing the loop there, so to speak. That's the way I was kind of looking at it.
Okay.
And remember when we were having the conversation about time cop and time movies in general, there's certain questions and certain things that you really have to kind of go, okay, I get it. I can poke a hole in that, but it's really freaking cool.
Okay, but I will say that I mean, there's the statement made that when Paul Dano's character accidentally or kind of whatever he freaks out because he hears the singing. The character is that he's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character has to help find him and like turn him in or whatever, and he says, "Are you gonna kill him?" And he says, "No, we can't kill him. That would alter the past. That would alter the future." But at the same time, the next thing you see is them putting him in like a machine and like slowly cutting parts of his body off and writing a message to his older self, like, "You need to come to this place." And then they shoot him. They finally close the loop, but then you see Paul Dano's character is like in pieces in like a bare whatever chamber.
Right. We got you.
That still prevents him from doing anything he would have done for the next 30 years. So that doesn't make sense.
Well, again, they changed it. In that case, it's a punishment. They changed the future. Think about this too in this mentality. For Paul Dano his character should have never been a looper in the first place. His character was a little not
fair.
But you take like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the type of looper he's fine with knowing when he dies. Then he just knows how much to live it up or how much to live the life he wants, how long he gets to live the life he wants to live. You know when your time is up. So how much time you have to take the most advantage of the life you're living.
It's funny, the problems that Lacey's having is a few of those I've thought of, but it's more about making you think and what the movie kind of does in that aspect, not about if this could really happen or why it should happen. And when it comes to these type of films, those are the questions that I kind of gravitate towards, because it's time travel, and not all time travel is done the same way. And we've been covering that,
Yeah.
And to get too nitpicky on little details like that, I know they come up because we watch these all the time and you go, but then you try to look at the interpretation of what they're trying to do and visually as well. Does it all work or not for you? It doesn't work for everyone. Obviously, it's not working for you, Lacey. But for me, outside of those issues that you've brought up, there's other things and questions that I gravitate towards and hang on to. And that's the reason why I like Looper.
And that's cool. I also had a struggle because no one was a good guy. Everyone was a bad guy. Everyone in this movie was an assassin or a kid who's going to grow up and murder people, or everyone was a bad guy.
Yeah.
There was not a single positive person in the film, with the
Is that a bad thing? You didn't like that? Because sometimes that's cool.
It just felt like it's hard to, the whole idea with film is that you're supposed to be someone you can identify with in the movie. Like, you want to identify with one of the characters and kind of like root for that character. I didn't root for anyone in this movie. I was like, okay, kill him. Okay.
Well, let's talk about, let's move this forward. Let's talk about the cast here, guys.
Okay. Bruce Willis kills toddlers. Just saying.
Yeah. This film actually has quite the cast in it. When
Are you
look
going to
at
be
it.
up? First of all, hold on, Lacey. Are you going to be okay?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get.
This film does have quite the cast in it, and it's a lot of people before they really, in some cases, really hit it big. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, this was probably he was starting to really become something here. This was kind of like the movie I think that really kind of started like, okay, he's not just a little kid from Third Rock anymore.
Yeah.
And so there's that. You have obviously Bruce Willis, a very young Emily Blunt in this movie. She was I actually when I went to rewatch it, I actually forgotten she was in this film. And
Yeah, me too.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
she doesn't show up till an hour in the film.
yeah, a young Paul Dano, Noah Segan as Kid Blue, Piper Perabo as Susie, of course, the great Jeff Daniels as Abe, the mob boss. You have Garrett Dillahunt in this film. You have
love him.
yeah, it is a phenomenal cast in this film. And Kevin, it also was like I said earlier, I think this is the movie that really put Ryan Johnson on the map, and for better or worse, put him on a path to another movie, which we don't need to name, but it really this movie had a lot of influence on a lot of people's careers.
Yeah, this was the movie that made me go back and watch Brick that he directed with also Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So there was some chemistry there between those two, and he obviously wanted to work with each other again, and that's kind of a cool high school film noir situation. And so that definitely kind of comes through in the film as well. Yeah. Rest of the cast is great though. I thought it was casted well. So yeah.
Yeah. I even have a couple fun pieces of trivia here real quick that I found when I was doing my notes for this. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, with the scene where he falls off the fire escape, it was filmed on his 30th birthday, and they left him hanging on stunt wires while the whole crew sang happy birthday and wheeled out a birthday cake for him.
That's awesome.
I'll be down to eat that in a little bit, but I'm in the middle of a scene, just hanging around.
Yeah. The other thing with this movie actually took a while to get off the ground, and it was one of those scripts that a lot of people actually wanted to take a shot at. This screenplay was actually featured in the 2010 Blacklist, a list of the most liked unmade scripts of the year.
That sounds like a bad thing, but apparently it's a good thing.
Yeah. So again, this is a script that had been floating around for a while. One thing I want to talk about here real quick before we get into the time travel aspect of it is there's really two big science fiction tropes in this movie. Obviously, there's the time travel, but there is the whole telekinesis side of it, and how they end up tying those two things together because of what the main, if you want to even call him the main villain of this, in a way, the main villain of this movie, who we never see his adult version on screen, all we see is the younger version of this character. And I think that was just as interesting how Ryan Johnson and how the script ties those two aspects together in a way you really can't figure out how it's coming until it actually happens.
That's where it gets a little confusing. I think it's because of, I think Emily Blunt's character and situation should have come in a little bit more strong sooner, I think. And because you're getting basically the whole mob and time travel thing for the first hour, and then the second hour you're getting the whole thing with the kid that's going to become extremely powerful, and the reason why Bruce Willis needs to kill this kid before he grows up and does the horrible things that he's going to do, and that's where the controversy is as well. But that's the only issue I have with it. But I did find it interesting. But I did want to mention. I have a thought on the time travel method that was used. If you're, I don't know if you're going with that or not yet. So
yeah, well, the time travel method that was used, it was advanced technology from the future, that technology that was that became illegal because they realized now time travel is not such a good thing. But when you have that technology, the bad guys are going to find a way to get their hands on it and use it, and they used it brilliantly.
Okay, so the actual time travel item, that pod that they climb into, and Lacey, I wanted to ask you this because obviously I can tell you're not a fan of this movie, but I did want to ask you about the use of the pod thing, because you see this time travel pod, and it's got like all these wires around. It kind of looks like a big like spherical thing, and then he gets inside of it and he starts kind of shaking around and glowing and stuff. That's pretty much it. That's all that we know. We don't know how it came about. It's kind of a MacGuffin, if I'm right about it. I kind of wanted a little more information on the time travel itself. All we know is that it's been invented, it was outlawed, but then the mob is still using it. So we see the device, but we don't really see how it's used, sort of, I guess. I don't know, Lacey, what do you think?
Well, I think that the premise of the film is the baby Hitler question. I don't think that this film, I don't think anyone who was making this film was concentrating on the time travel aspect of it as far as the technology of it. This is literally the question of, there's a bad guy. Could you go back and kill him as a child?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and thus we...
He didn't even kill one kid. He didn't even know which kid it was. He found 3 options and killed 2 out of 3 before the final showdown. So he killed 2 innocent children. It's cool.
Thus leading, I obviously see you have a problem. I see you got a problem with that. I got you. But thus leading to the end of the film, which I forgot about until I rewatched it, where Joseph Gordon-Levitt turns the gun on himself, kills himself, thus making Bruce Willis disappear. Right.
So here's the question that I have. If Joseph Gordon-Levitt kills himself and Bruce Willis disappears, then because Joseph Gordon-Levitt isn't moving forward in time to then have to become Bruce Willis and then come back in time, did those 2 children actually survive?
This is where things get interesting, because this is where you start talking about alternate realities, because the minute Joseph Gordon-Levitt kills himself, he creates an alternate reality.
Yep.
It's not just a time change. So in an alternate reality, yes, those 2 kids do survive because Bruce Willis never goes back in time because his character is dead. And that's also why his death also prevents that young man from becoming that powerful being.
But we don't know that, because the trauma he experienced at that point, he's already experienced the trauma of literally watching himself. He killed his mother. He killed Garrett Dillahunt exploded him in the air. Like, there's a lot of trauma that kid's gonna have to get through.
What they're establishing in this film is he has nobody, because the mother died. Emily Blunt's character dies in all of this, so that kid has nobody to guide him, but now he's got that mother figure still that he loves, and it's actually his real mother. And so that the point is that he doesn't necessarily become that person in the future, because he's got this motherly influence instead of just being completely alone.
These are the questions this movie raises that makes it.
It's the nature versus nurture.
Yeah. One of the questions anyway. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So speaking of all this, the time travel trope used in this is time loop. In this case, is your loop closed? The way it works is someone is hired as a looper with the contract saying that their employment will end when they kill themselves and get a nice payout. This is called closing their loop. For most loopers, it tends to be about 30 years after their loop is closed that they get to live. The way it works is the looper's future self is sent to the past, the present from the movie's perspective, and the present looper kills themselves. They then go on living their life until 30 years later, when they're grabbed and sent back and killed. So it's basically kind of like, hey, you do this contract, when we kill you, it's going to be about 30 years. So you got 30 years to enjoy your life and enjoy this nice payout. Thank you for your service. And the idea of it being is most of these people who are loopers, they really have nothing else in life. And this is a pretty dystopian world that they're in for the most part. So it's understanding why some of them would take that option.
I have a question about that, though. So the reason that they have to close the loop is because the people in the future don't want anyone to be around to spill the beans, right?
Correct.
But if you kill the person and then still give them 30 years to spill the beans, what?
Well,
how I don't what? How is that?
I am sure there are people watching that are making sure they're not spilling the beans per se. I'm sure that's part of the deal. It's the old you don't talk about Fight Club rule.
Right, but if that's the case, if they're not talking about a Fight Club, why send them back after? Like, let them live their lives. Put them out to pasture like an elephant or a bull.
No, they're putting it in the way they are. They're giving them the 30-year-old Yeller treatment.
Right. It's just it's weird.
The thing that I found, the one scene I just found interesting, it sticks with me, when he's hiding Paul Dano's character and he's going to Jeff Daniels. Jeff Daniels is basically trying to find out, where's your buddy? But he's like, yeah, so, we know you're hiding half your silver. That's smart. You want to go to, was it Asia? He's like, no, France. He's like, well, you should go to China. Trust me. He's like, no, I'm going to France. I just thought that was kind of interesting, little dichotomy there, because we see a little bit of the future in, I guess, China or whatever, but it's like he needs to go to France. He needs to go to France. I always thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure.
I actually have an answer for you for that, and it's actually
I got the answer on that one.
They ran out of money. They couldn't go. They wanted to go to Paris and film, and they didn't have enough money. So they were thinking about using Louisiana, and they realized it really does. It was in New Orleans, and it just wasn't going to work quite as well. So yeah, so China.
And also, there's a point where Jeff Daniels' character says, "I'm from the future. I know you go to China. Stop arguing. I know that's where you go."
So, how did time travel change things in this movie? Obviously, it changed a lot. It created a society. I mean, there's a whole section of society here with this looper section in this underworld. That's, you've got these people who know when they're going to die. They're killing them. They're basically committing future suicide in a roundabout way. And also, I mean, time travel changes the aspect of changing the future, creating an alternate reality where this young, incredibly powerful child doesn't become the monster he becomes, at least in Bruce Willis's timeline.
In theory.
In theory, we don't know, but that's what the movie is trying to establish. We got to go with what the movie is trying to establish here, because we don't know. There's no sequel to this film, so we don't know. But that's in theory, that's what they're trying to establish here. I again, what one of the things I like about this movie and how they use time travel, Kevin, and I'm curious if you agree with me. It felt like smart science fiction. It asked you a lot of questions, but it seemed like for a lot of it, it was still like they thought out the consequences. They thought out the process of all this. It wasn't just thrown together. And sometimes you get that with time travel films, is that they don't think about everything that's happening because of the time travel.
The questions that we're asking ourselves right now, the questions and problems that we're talking about, specifically what Lacee's pointing out, the stuff that you're talking about, I think that was the intent.
Yeah.
You showcase this movie in a futuristic way. You throw in some tropes as well, leave a little stuff out there to be discussed, and and there's a lot of movies I like out there where there's just a certain part of it going, I'm still kind of, I don't know, but I still like it, and that's where I sit with this film. And I like that it does. I think it's a smart film enough to where it provokes an emotional response in different ways from different people.
I think that's a very good point. Lacee, you've obviously made it clear you're not a fan of this film for a myriad of reasons.
It's not that I struggle.
It's okay to not like it, Lacee. Just say it.
I feel like I need to watch it again, because I just feel it and I was in a good mood when I watched it. It's not, sometimes you're in a bad mood, so you don't like a movie. That wasn't the case. I was having a good day, whatever. I feel like some of the questions. Okay, so you asked, does time travel change things or whatever, like in this movie? I think that for the whole of the film, for all the other loopers, it does change things, but technically it doesn't, because they already know what's going to happen. So it's a loop. It doesn't change anything except for Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, who literally no longer time travels. So he's the only person in the movie that changed the future by not participating in changing the future. that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So
And that is good, bad, confusing.
it is what I hate this sentence. It is what it is. Like, I don't have an opinion on it. Like,
I think one of the other lessons from this film, though, is with the time travel aspect of it. You're being a looper. You look at Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. He's saving his money so he can have the life he thinks he wants, and then it isn't the life that it turns out to be, and he finds love and he finds something to live for, and then it's taken away from him.
but the
And
interesting thing
I think the concept, and one of the things that it asks you then is, what would you do, not knowing your future, but knowing you had a limited amount of time, like you knew when your number was up.
right, and
What would you
Joseph
do with
Gordon-Levitt,
that? And if you could change it, would you?
but Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, when the character of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, we're not talking about Bruce, we're talking pre-Bruce. Okay, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character gets his 30-year parachute, which is what they call it in the movie, and instead of like going to live the good life, he still continues to be a murder for hire assassin.
Well, he hadn't got his parachute yet. Bruce Willis was his parachute.
I know.
So he didn't get it. He hadn't got it yet. When Bruce Willis is there, he's accepted. He doesn't realize they don't realize it until he shoots him, till they see it's gold instead of silver. Well, then everything goes wrong. And again, in that time frame from when it's the older Bruce Willis who's lived that time, he's found things that he never thought he would probably have in life. He found a woman he loved. He lost that woman. He's after vengeance now. He's after to change things to get that love back.
And also, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character thinks he is living the life. He's got the Miata car, which is a classic at the time. He's got the cool clothes. It's style, and he's got the hot girlfriend. He thinks this is he's reaching for something else. He's going to get to it, but he thinks this is the life, and he does want a little bit more, and he is going for that as well. But then the future version of himself, which is Bruce Willis, is showing, no, there's something more.
Right. But if you watch that scene where Bruce Willis comes back, he has the scene where Bruce Willis turns around and flips him and smacks him in the head with the gold, whatever. But then it cuts to, and then it does the same shot over again where he kills him. And then it shows the progress of his life from Bruce Willis's point of view. So from Bruce Willis's point of view, he did get that golden parachute.
Well,
he has the money.
But again, but Bruce Willis's character got things that he wasn't expecting to get in the future that made living more important to him.
Right. But he did still remain a bad guy until he met the woman in his like 50s or something.
But
for 20 years, he was still a bad guy after the golden parachute.
I don't think we're arguing that. I'm not sure what. I think I don't know if we're arguing semantics or not or what, but that there was a change in Bruce Willis, and then he snapped.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get it. I'm just saying that the whole goal of being a looper was you do this for X number of years, then we're gonna hook you up. You get 30 years to just live it up, right? So even in that 30 years of living it up, for 20 years of it, he's still a bad guy. He doesn't go off and
well, he doesn't continue being a looper. Once you close your loop, you're done.
When you, by the way, I don't want to debate this too much longer because we got to wrap things up. But being a bad guy is a perspective in this film, just so you know. He may not feel like he's a bad guy, but to us and stuff that he's doing, he is. The loopers are bad guys, but do they feel like bad guys?
I feel like intrinsically, if you're murdering people, you're a bad guy. Just like in general.
That could be made for argument, but the way that they're living their lives, they may not feel that way. And the way that they are showcasing how they're enjoying living their lives, that's just an afterthought to them. Yes, they're doing bad things, but you got to look at where their mind is set at the time, and that's fascinating.
And look at the world they're in too.
Yeah.
Of course, they're working for the mob, so we know that the people they're killing might not necessarily be people who deserve to be killed.
Of course, yeah, that's part of that's part.
Their job is potentially just killing innocent people that the mob wants to get rid of.
Yeah,
see, I think the point, I think the point of this is that this movie is not designed to have a good guy or bad guy. It's telling the story of these people. And I think I think that whether they're good, bad, or otherwise is indifferent. It's the situation There's not good or bad. There's just the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that is going to wrap up this edition of Culture Clash. It has been a fun one. A lot of the things we talked about in Buy It, Streamer, and See It. Continuing our time travel look with Looper, which has been turned into a very interesting conversation. It's been a lot of fun. And Kevin, we got something next for the next Culture Clash because we're going to talk about another movie that might need to be saved from oblivion.
Yes, we're going to return to our save from fandom oblivion. We're going to be talking about the 2005 Michael Bay film, The Island, starring Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor.
This might be the movie, the Save from Oblivion movie that has the biggest stars in it that we've done to this point.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
Kenobi and Black Widow. Yeah.
Yeah, Obi-Wan and Kenobi and Black Widow team up. Okay, crossing the streams, but well before then. But guys, you have been watching Culture Clash on the Fandom Podcast Network. And there's some great ways to find the Fandom Podcast Network. If you're watching live on our YouTube channel, thank you so much, and thanks for those of you that participated in the chat. If you're following us on YouTube, please remember to subscribe, give us a like, and share us out. We appreciate you helping us grow the channel because we cannot do it without you. Of course, too, this is Culture Clash, which is the flagship show of the Fandom Podcast Network, and you can find all of our audio feeds on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. You can also find it on any of your major podcast catchers out there, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or so many others. You can find us, too, on Facebook. Follow our Facebook page where we're keeping you updated with everything that's happening in fandom. If you want to email us, you can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Fandom Podcast Network and on Twitter at FanPod Network. I am your host, Kyle. You can find me on Twitter, aka X, at AKyleW, or on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom. Kevin, where are you on the socials?
Most of my socials, you can all find me at Spartan_Phoenix. And if you're watching this, please give us a like, hit the like button there, and give us a comment below. Let us know what you think, how you feel about Looper and all the other stuff that we talked about.
And Lacey, thank you as always for returning and joining us and sharing your knowledge with us. Where can people find you on socials? I know it's mostly around here, but there's a few places.
And really quick, I know I was very negative about Looper, but I will say that this had some of the best hair and makeup ever. Like, it had really good, like the special effects and the hair and makeup were amazing. So just saying.
Definitely. I like the costumes too.
I don't want to be like 100% negative because there were things that were amazing. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I am normally with you guys. I've done, I think this is my first, is this my first culture? No, it's my second Culture Clash. I've done a bunch of the time warp stuff. I've done a few couch potatoes.
I think this is your third because you did you did Sound of Thunder and Timeline. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What was Wimbledon?
That was Couch Potato Theater.
Okay, so I'm mixing them up. You guys just have me on, and I'm like, okay, hello, I'll talk about movies. So that's what I usually do, is hang out with these guys and talk about movies. As far as the social media is concerned, I'm very bad at it. I don't post on Facebook, although you can see what I have posted in the past. It's not very interesting. It's Lacey Pants. Same goes for I think I'm on X still under Lacey Pants.
You are.
My Instagram is it's the Lacey Pants, and it's basically about 60 pictures of food from New York from a trip I took in 2019. So I'm very boring when it comes to social media. So find me here or on Letterboxd. I am on Letterboxd, and that's like, you can see at least the movies I enjoy and that kind of stuff. See if we have the same opinions. Yay.
Yeah, you can find me on Letterboxd. I'm KSport16 on Letterboxd. Kevin, where are you on Letterboxd?
Same thing, Spartan_Phoenix. Yep.
And Lacey Pants.
Well, guys, that is going to wrap up this long edition of Culture Clash. We appreciate those of you who joined us. Thank you, Ken. Always great to have you
Kenny.
in the chat.
Thanks, Ken. I hope I wasn't too negative.
No, you were all good. But that's why we have these welcome the varying different opinions. But guys, I gotta go clean my blunderbuss. So with that, as always, as we close out just remember, respect each other, and most importantly, enjoy your fandom and your popcorn buckets. Take care, guys. We are out of here.